the vision statement developed by a couple of us on the district foundation committee after we visited Evanston, that meeting I referenced earlier. And I'd like to read it to you. District 5110 will be recognized as the best district at writing global grants in our zone pairing. We will create and maintain a positive reputation built around who we partner with and how we construct and execute our global grant projects. But stepping off from there, I think one of the things that occurs to Tim and I as we began participating in these meetings, and we've heard comments from others before as well, it's really a great way to get outside our own clubs, our own club culture, and our own club projects. And we've learned that across our district, we are all of our clubs, a collection of and supporting each other, and we come together at these meetings to do good in the world. And I think through that process, we also create that reputation that I was just referring to for our collective giving and engagement in our global grants. And that reputation is important as we continue to partner, look for host clubs, particularly in districts, because that provides us opportunity and it provides us money for our projects. As we mentioned earlier, there's a lot globally going on with the number of global grants that are being done. We have also noticed at our district level that we've declined a little bit. We're guessing maybe this is due to COVID. That seems the obvious answer. And also a new level was added a couple years ago with the community assessment that needs to be done prior to the grant. And then quite simply, in my opinion, because of COVID, we've had an inability to do our fundraisers. So maybe those are just some of the factors that are influencing the number of global grants that we are seeing in our district. But also, I think we're frequently asked, you particularly get this up at PETS if you've gone through the President-elect training, is how do I find a project? How do I identify a club to be working with internationally? How do I build and create a grant? How do I get experience doing that? And you get the idea. And I think again, I come back around to that vision statement as future participation is, dependent upon what we're doing now. And now this brings me up to the next introductions, because there's been a change at the foundation as far as Rotaractors. How many times did you hear Steve Snyder say mention Rotaractors today? That as of January now, Rotaract clubs can apply for district grants. So meaning in our district, June 1, a Rotaract club.
July 1.
The application's due June 1. A Rotaract club could submit a project for a district grant. July 1, which is what Tim was referring to, a Rotaract club can submit an application for a global grant. There is one caveat to that, and the foundation trustees have said that before they can do that, they have to have prior experience in a district grant or a global grant project. So obviously there's a little barrier there to be addressed we have 5 Rotaract clubs in our district. So that's sort of the setup to the backstory to what's coming up next on our agenda. I was really excited when Dan Smith contacted me. As you've seen in our bulletin, Dan's been traveling in Ecuador, and he, I'm not sure how, met a dynamic group of Rotaractors, Rotarians, and their supporters in Ecuador who are working on a global grant project, and asked if we couldn't invite them to this meeting and have them share their project with us. And again, because what I've just mentioned, identifying clubs, identifying partners and projects, Rotaract clubs can now work on global grants. It just seemed like the universe came together, and this was a great time for them to join us and share their project with us. So I would like to
their goal in sharing with us.
Yeah, Dan is going to be introducing the team. They have joined us, and for about the next half hour, we're going to hear from them on what their project is. while you listen to it, these are kind of coming in stages, but the primary purpose of this is they are looking for a partner club to join them as the international club on this project. What we're encouraging to happen here in our district is that Rotary Club join with one of our Rotaract clubs. And again, there are 5, and we've invited some Rotaractors to be on this call today. So you could reach out to a Rotary Club in your area if you're interested, so you can get that experience that's required of this new policy change. That quite simply would also mean once the club has identified themselves in our district, obviously Club Cash will be involved. One of their members, Edison, and I will go over the budget after their presentation. Participation in the grant, certainly, and 3 club members who would identify as the contacts on that grant. The next step would be, if one of our clubs wants to be involved with it, would be presenting that global grant application at a future quarterly grant meeting to get the DDF approved. All right. So again, I'm very excited. I met with them earlier in the week and have heard their proposal. And I think you will be truly impressed with this group and what they're doing in their country.
And they can share the screen. It's open.
Yeah, so Dan, I invite you to share your screen and do introductions of these wonderful people that you have brought to our meeting today. Thank you.
There's my screen with sharing. I wanted to go back just a couple of steps, and I came to Ecuador to collect Rotary stories, and because we've been working on the podcast.
Can I interrupt you?
Sure.
I'm sorry, you're echoing.
I'm sorry. Let me. My thing is about to run out. Let me undo this. How's that? Nope, still there.
I'm still getting an echo.
If he's not using a headset, there's a conflict between his computer and his headset.
Yeah, let me see. I just disconnected.
I know you know the technologies. For the quality of the recording, and as well as people being able to hear you clearly, I wanted to see if we couldn't correct that.
There you go. How's that?
There.
That's better. Yeah.
All right, I'm back.
Got it.
Super. Anyway, we've been working on the podcasting within the district for the last 2 years. So we wanted to go a little further and see what kind of projects we have for Rotary in the world. So I came to Ecuador to collect Rotary stories. And we have a firm belief that if you, the more stories we tell, the more people are going to find out about Rotary, and the more people that are going to be interested in joining. So let me see if I can. Well, I came to Ecuador, came to Quito, which is the capital city, and it's a very high elevation. So coming from Roseburg to this altitude, it took me a while to adapt to the altitude. So, but I had no appointments here, no Rotary groups to meet with. So my landlady, which is here, has a boyfriend who is a manager of a band, and somebody in the band happened to know the founding president of the Cumbaya Rotary Club. It's a very new Rotary Club, and I'm afraid my thing is about to go dead, sorry. A very new Rotary Club. They have a couple of projects. One of them is the bamboo houses for battered women. The other one is the nutritional forest, which is the one we're talking about today. They introduced me to Fabian and Edison, who are the principals of this project, Fabian being the president. They also introduced me to Mike McCullough, and Mike has been out in the jungle in the Amazon for decades, so he really knows what he's doing. Well, Mike would send me pictures and videos of projects going on. And one of the things that caught my eye was the involvement of the community. For these projects, the whole village comes out to participate, even the kids. And what do they get for their work? They actually get a single meal. They'll have lunch. Lunch is white rice, lentils, a piece of chicken, and guayusa, which is it's like a tea kind of a drink. You see Mike holding up that's a giant snail. The decision was, are we going to eat it or are we going to turn it loose? So I think they decided to turn it loose. So pretty good size thing. One of the things that they were telling me about is they have all of these nonprofits come in and they call them whiteboard or flip chart or paper people. They come in and make a presentation. They make themselves feel really good and then they go away, leaving nothing. So their concern was about, are we going to come in and do that? Mike and the Rotaractors, they've been working with these people for years now. So that's covered. The main thing is that we are, in our generation, this is our future. We're living it now. This is their opportunity to help them build their future. So with that, I'd like to introduce Fabian Pena, who is the president of the Rotaract Club.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you for telling the story of Rotary in Ecuador. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the interest in our project. For us at Rotaract Cumbaya from Ecuador, it's a pleasure to be here. The project began 2 years ago with the idea of a member of a club that cares about the environment. He developed an MVP with Yacum and Red Forest Star Foundation. This small project won the South American Rotaract Project Fair 2 years ago. At the same time, the Rotary International Foundation announced the new environmental area of interest. As a consequence of this context, we decided to take this project to the next level, taking into account the needs of the community, but also to protect the most biodiverse part of the world, that is the Ecuadorian Amazon. Now, Edison is going to present the project in detail to you. And once again, thank you for the opportunity and the interest in our project.
Okay, can you hear me? Yes? No?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes,
Okay, yeah. So hello, my name is Edison. I'm in charge in this project. So this is an environmental project, and this is considered as we want to show this project as the first nutritional forest in South America. Let me pass this. So have you ever considered how lucky we are just to eat 2 or 3 meals a day? So we did an M&A, a mini nutritional assessment, and also we did a survey in in the economic part in these communities, around the 80% of them. We surveyed the 80% of the population, and the results here in this community was very shocking. So we have that 68 of the community members eat just 1 meal per day. 63 of them are in malnutrition, and 32 in risk of malnutrition, and 32 of them are in malnutrition. That was some of the results that this M&A, the mini nutritional assessment, showed. And also for the economic part, the result was that the household average income is just $65 per month. So just you to know, the average, the basic average salary here in Ecuador is $300. So 65 is just a really small part, and they cannot cover their own needs, their own basic needs. And also the ground, when we try to, or when we are going to forest, was 40 years ago deforested by a missionary group that they just wanted to achieve economic development, but they left aside all the environmental part. So now Mike is going to introduce how we came with this awesome idea from the bottom to the top. Mike, are you there?
Good. Yeah, I'm here. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm here with some of the leaders from the Sacha Waisa community and some leaders of the Sacha Corana young people's group. The idea of the food forest or the nutritional forest comes from that traditionally the nationalities that live in the Amazon here had very species-rich home gardens. They had between 100 and 250 useful food species that they would grow. Because of different developmental pressures, much of that's been lost, and lost recently over the last 30 to 40 years. That diversity has gone way down. We live in a very interesting, beautiful area. We're at the foothills of the Andes. We're surrounded by 5 national parks. The biodiversity levels for forests are the absolute highest in the world. And also that's reflected by the cultural diversity of the people who live in the forest, who traditionally manage those forests and look for seeds in those forests to develop a balanced diet. As mentioned, income is very low and nutrition is very low. This project over an 8-year period will address both the income needs. We intend to increase income by about 50%, and we intend to provide a complete nutrition with some interesting species. We have fruits that produce good levels of protein. We have other nuts that produce all the good omega oils. We have other species that have 30 up to 100 times as much vitamin C as citrus. Yakum's been working on these food forests for about 3 years. We work with 21 communities and 4 nationalities throughout the Amazon. And this project will result in growing 12,500 trees of 110 species. And there'll be positive impacts, we think, for conservation, nutrition, income generation, carbon offsets, soil regeneration, community organization leadership, as there's an educational component to the project. For education, we're including bikes, which in addition to the reforestation, will be available for getting kids to high school. It'll provide for a platform for youth groups in our area to extend to new communities and grow their impact. There'll be a lot of replicability, or we can scale up the project. We have a serious monitoring program, and based on our work with the 5 communities, we'll have the elements monitored and evaluated to upscale or scale up the project in the future. Later at the end of the presentation, we'll present some of the community members and they'll talk about the project as well. Thank you.
Good, thank you, Mike. So now Sebastian, the president of the Red Forestal, another foundation that is working with us, is going to intervene.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sebastian. So I'm going to tell you a bit why there is a need for intervention. On the one hand, we already saw, as Edison told us all, that there is a dire nutritional need in the communities because their usual diet, so to say, has been a bit disrupted through the development processes. So it is important to improve their nutrition because this leads to a better health. It has an impact on life expectancy. It lowers the health expenses. It also, in general, improves the life quality of the people, and it also gets kids to school, which has been proven. So, as Mike already told us a bit, the goal is to recover a nutrition based on native and endemic species that here in the West would be considered superfoods, that have several the vitaminic or mineral content of what we could call the usual food products that we eat. We also want to restore degraded forests with benefits for biodiversity, because not all the food that is produced will be eaten only by the community, but also by local wildlife like mammals, birds, and so on. And this is, as Michael already told, in the most important biodiversity hotspot on the planet, due to the altitudinal levels, because it's a transition from the Amazon to the Andes. So we have a mix of species, both from the Amazon as well as from the Andes. We're going to provide heavy-duty buffalo bikes for mobility to transport the plants to the reforestation site at the project start. But in the long run, these bikes can also be used so that school children, so that children get to school, because there is a lack of adequate transport in the region.
Okay. So, what is our proposal? What we want to achieve? Well, this project is to plant 12,500 trees. We are going to cover 100 endemic native species. Just to know, a normal project, a normal good project for reforestation will be to plant 20 species, 20 endemic species, but we are really in the age of this conservation, and we want to achieve 110 endemic native species. Just to know, all of them are not producing trees. So with this food forest, we are going to have a production. And this production is going to be divided by 60% of them are for the nutritional part. We are working with our nutritional expert here in the Rotaract Club, and we achieve a diet, a 60,000 calorie diet that later on we are going to explain this with this diet. To achieve a reduction of in malnutrition, and the other 40% are for the savings, and for savings for the sustainable project in the long run, and also to cover other aspects that nuts and fruits cannot cover in the nutritional part. Our partners, we are right now working with three foundations here. Jacum, that is leading. Mike is one of the biggest NGOs here in Ecuador, and they will carry on all the reforestation part. Red Forestal here, that is leading Sebastian, they will carry on all the technological part, because as Fabian told you in the beginning, we want a prize that is to work with an application when we can georeferencing the ground, and you can see the real growth of the trees on the internet. So they are leading all this part of the technological aspect. And WWBC, that is the main club that has been working with these communities for 10 years from now. And they also will carry on the transportation methods and capacitation in repair of the bikes, the follow bikes.
So in total, we're going to benefit 1,200 people in 308 families and the 5 communities in the Amazon, in this transition zone. They are all of the Quechua nationality, and it is interesting because Quechua nationality has their own language, their own culture, and this culture is always very linked with the forest. So in the region where we're going to start to restore the forest, there has been a lot of deforestation, and also by providing this nutritional forest, we are like recovering this chakra model with which Mike talked about the food forest for each family, and this is also going to promote their culture. So the 5 communities we're going to work in are Sachahuayza, Ayapata, Caupichungo, Inchillaki, and La Libertad.
Yeah, so at the beginning, we told you that it is a long-term project. Is it an odd year? So at the end of the odd year, we will cover the 43% of the 60,000 diet calories, and we plan to achieve a reduction in malnutrition about the 28%. Also, we are preserving 110 native Ecuadorian species, and we are going to increase the family income by 50%. And the 4th point is that we are going to make a carbon capture of 75 tons.
So it's also this project is also very interesting and pioneering because of its scalability and its sustainability, both in environmental as well as in economic terms. So first, it's sustainable because we're going to train the communities in leadership, in how they can organize, and especially in the reforestation project. So they already have the know-how and the tools to start increasing the scope of it. And we have already seen that there is a great interest in other communities to replicate the food forest model that we have kind of developed, but always the design is always made with the communities, also looking after their needs and looking after their wants. So secondly, we expect to generate an income through the selling of forest goods, and we expect that 15% of that income can be saved to have economic sustainability within the communities and the project. Third, the reforestation that we are doing has an end life cycle. The maximum production capacity is at 8 years, but the trees will probably produce not every species, but many of them will produce maybe around 30-40 years. But after the productive cycle has ended, we have incorporated into the reforestation model that these species will be replenished, so that we can have a constant production from then on also. It is very important to note that this project is very scalable because we use 20 commercial species. This is very different to other projects that use native and endemic species, because as Edison already told us, normally it's around 10 species, and right now we are hovering around 110 species. And we want to introduce 90 new endemic and native tree species. Also, the tools that we use, the know-how and the equipment can be reused, which also improves scalability. And as Mike already told us, we have introduced a selective and scalable monitoring for the project, because that is also very, very important for reforestation projects, that there is a good project impact evaluation and a good monitoring in general of how the project goes. So it can also be replicated on a regional level, because it has been scientifically proven that indigenous communities are the best ecosystem conservators. We could expand this project through networks, associations, nationalities, and communities of indigenous people. Also, always taking into account that this project looks to start the reforestation from a bottom-up organization and not from a top-down organization, so that it can, on the one hand, organically spread and grow. Another thing that is very interesting is that the youth seems to be the main promoter of reforestation projects, because they are, on the one hand, interested in restoring their forests and also interested in conserving their culture. Last but not least, it can be tied to ecotourism or other development initiatives, which can improve the income for the communities and are good for local development. So in general, this project is very scalable, and it could be also applied to other communities that are not necessarily from the Quechua nationality, but from the other 40 nationalities that we have in Ecuador, and also along the Andes, the same transition zone from the Andes to the Amazon on Latin American level.
Yep, thank you, Sebastian. Because we have this common ground, this is really a scalable project. So if this can work in the Ecuadorian Amazon, can also work in the Brazilian Amazon, in the Peruvian and Colombian Amazon. So now we have the nutritional assessment part. So please, Majo, can you
Hi. Hi to everyone. I will talk to you about the nutritional aspect in the project. So first of all, standard diet was calculated, including all the food groups. And out of this, only the fruits to be obtained from the plantation were taken into account, like fruits, legumes, some vegetables, and others. From these groups of food, it was estimated that approximately 26,000 calories per month per person will be covered just by the food forest, which is equal to the 43% of the total of the diet. So this 43% will be achieved at the end of the project. And in how we will achieve this is in the first 2 years, we'll be covering the 3% of the diet. The next 2 years, the 9%, by year 5, the 17%, and from year 6, the estimated 43% begins to be filled. And to measure the progress of this part of the project, anthropometric measurements like weight, height, body mass index will be taken every 6 months along the 8 years of the project. And also nutritional surveys like the one we did at the beginning, which is the M&A, the mini nutritional assessment, will be carried out to see how the reduction of malnutrition in the communities is going.
So to achieve this goal, we need an initial boost of $65,000 that will be spent on the first 4 years of the project. The breakdown of the budget, Edison, could you please change the? It will be divided into the main part that is the reforestation expenses, covering workshops, all the seeds, and all the material needed for the reforesting. The bicycle support, especially to carry on and show the people and buy the bicycles for the traveling and transportation of everything needed. Educational support for the community, also with some workshops specifically for the plantation and some other important educational needs. And an important part also that is marketing and relations that will give the project exposure and will help also this to be replicated in many places in the world. And somebody mute the person. Okay, if you can hear me, I was saying also the marketing and relations part to show the impact that Rotary has in the world. Evie? So our projections on production of plants, nuts, and fruit is in total that since year 5 and on, we will have enough production to cover all sustainability costs. And also, as you can see, since year 6, the production will cover all the consumption needs and will start to give the people a source of income for their families. Next, please. Finally, for the source of income, we have projected that at year 7, we will have an increase in families' income of about 47–48%, and at year 8, a 67% increase in the families' income. As we said before, the average family income was about $65 per family, and the basic basket for Ecuador is about $719 for a family to live a basic life. So as you can see, we are increasing an important part, doubling the income of the people. On year 7, it's about $31 of an extra income, and at year 8, it would be about $44 of an extra income. And this will increase a little and stabilize over the time, continuing on the project, as Sebastian said, for about 30 years and on.
Okay, so this is just a small summary of all the project. This is the workflow that we are going to be having. So at the first, we have the funds with Rotaract and Yacum and Rotary. We also buy all the supplies. The first 2 years is going to be just to plant and create nurseries. Also, in the year 2 and 4, we are going to go for the europhyraceating part, when you can see the real glow in the real growth in on the internet. And we, in the years 5 and 6, we are going to have our breaking point of production here, when we achieve all what Anna was saying. And in the year 7 and so on, we have all the long-term sustainability when we can sell all this production to the local markets here in the country, in Ecuador. Now we have a live here with Mike, and we have some word with the leader in the community, the key leaders of the community.
Okay, we're here in the Sachahuaysa community, and there's a lot of people here right now. To introduce them, there are 3 people from the Young People's Group, Joyce and Jimmy and Maria. Marcia and Gerardo are leaders in the community. Aide and her husband is an ex-president, and Efrain is very active in a lot of community activities. They have a few words for us about the project. I'll start with Marcia. Diga.
Alichichi ñuqashutian Marcia, kay mas nawangurishi kawsawanchi ñukanchi Sachahuaysa y llaqtaypi. Ñukanchi munanchi masna kankuna yanapay kay ñukanchi comunidad Sachahuaysa.
Sí. Okay, Gerardo.
Alichichi Sachahuaysa shiti salurani kangunari mas ñukanchi kay Sachahuaysa trabajo katishkanchi.
Okay, they're both saying they'd like to welcome you to Sachahuaysa. They're happy to talk about the project, and they're happy to talk to you from Sachahuaysa sobre el proyecto.
Sinayara ñukanchi kay llankasha kayushkanchi kay proyecto payguna kuyashka kay wawkunama sachikwirana kay masna ñukanchi Sachahuaysa llankasha kayushka ruyakunara tarpusha masa ñukanchi alpa pachamamara kawsachingawa kay Ecuador mamllaqtaypi masami ñukanchi kay Amazoniaypi.
Okay, so she's saying that the project provides a good opportunity for this community which has a lot more experience with the reforestation or the nutritional forest to work with the other 4 communities. And there's a very strong young people's group called Sachahuaysa, and I'll introduce them. They'll be helping with the leadership and the organization components with the Wawa Visa group. I'll let the young people introduce themselves.
Yukashutimian Joyce. Yukashutimian Maria.
Okay.
Yukashutimian Aide.
Yukashutimikan Efrain. Yukashutimian Fausto. Yukashutimian Gerardo.
Okay. Bueno, diga sobre el proyecto.
Anyukanchi masa shina ta lakio makio katushkanchi Sachahuaysa sinallara kay wawakuna malta wawakuna paina mushu yachera katirano Sachakuirana awa kuna tiempo kay wawakuna rexisha riano mushu malkikunara ahí ñukanchi charente ashka malkikunata tarpushka kay manda watay manasha mas wataunama ali mikuna ñukanchi mikuna same.
Okay, he's saying that the project's an important project, and Marcia said kind of the same thing, that the project's really important for reinforcing and restoring culture. As we mentioned, a lot of the cultural traditions here for the chakras, which were traditionally managed by women, have been lost because of different development pressures. So they're interested in the restoration of culture, and they think that the Young People's Group, the Sacha Karuna group, can help a lot with the project. Right up before Christmas, in a 2-week period with Sacha Karuna, they were able to expand their work into 4 new communities by building 4 new nurseries with areas of work in the nursery to go ahead. So, ¿ustedes pueden decir algo sobre el trabajo de Sacha Corona?
Bueno, sí. Bueno, nosotros hemos venido trabajando conjuntamente con Yaku y Sacha Cuirana, pues hemos prestado varias zonas y creo que nos está gustando mucho este trabajo, ya que estamos relacionándonos con el medio ambiente y tratando de proteger.
Okay. He's saying as the young people's groups, they've done a lot of reforestation work with Yakum and recently going into new communities. So they're ambitious, and as Dan said, it's their future. They're concerned about climate change and environmental integrity and things like that. So anyway, vamos a decir Kayagama. Kayagama. Shapunjagama. Kayagama, Shapunjagama in Quechua. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for your attention. Now we are going for the question section.
We already have 2 questions. I can answer one of those. And Mike, if you could read the second one. So for the first question, at first there was not a food forest. There was just the natural forest out there that was deforested. So it's not a part of food forest recovery, but reforestation with a food forest for reforesting and also using it for helping the community with the nuts and plants. So in terms of production, taking into account an 80% of survival rate, the year 8, we will have a 95% of the total capacity of production. That means about 190,000 kilograms of production by year 8, as I already told you.
And now for the who is going to do the harvesting part, as Dan told you in the beginning, a group of the members come together to work for the environmental part, for the nutritional part. So they will carry on all the harvesting, and this is also called mingas in Ecuador in Spanish. Okay, so they will do the mingas when it's time to harvest.
So I cannot see the second question. What is the second question?
It's what Eddie was talking about. It says, yeah. Can you tell us what sorry, I assume that you have a plan for how the produce will be harvested. Can you briefly describe that plan? Who will be doing the harvesting, or will they paid in wages or by shares of the harvest?
We will co-design and develop the project with each community. And so in the process of, the first steps are, of course, setting up the nursery, germinating the plants, GPSing the planting area, planting things out, and doing the necessary cleanings. We go for a 90% survival rate at least, and we often get over 95%. Harvesting will be done collectively by the community in Mingas, and there'll be previous discussions about how to organize the harvest. The Mingas are part of the culture here in terms of work. And you saw those in the pictures that Dan put up. One of the themes that's very important in the communities is equity, so that everybody gets a fair share of the food once it starts coming online. So that will be part of the process that we'll look at carefully and co-design with communities over time. So I think it'll be non-paid work because the communities will be benefiting from the fruits and nuts and palm fruits and medicinal plants and handcraft plants that will be produced.
Okay, another question is, how large is the area to be reforested? Initially, our plan is over about 12 hectares, that is about 29 acres, for you to have an idea.
That again, that depends on the communities. They can decide on the spacing. It could be between 12 hectares. It could be up to 30 hectares if they want more space in between the fruit trees. Again, we will co-design that